Hi, we're in week 10. For week 10, one of the first things I want you to do is read, considering the importance of reflective thinking in business writing. This is it, it's a significant concept because what I want you to think about is the fact that when you reflect on your approach, especially in something like the white paper, it allows you to really consider how basically your suggestion, your recommendation can be fine tuned in order to cater to a particular audience. I'll give you a quick example. In reading some white papers over the last semester, um, one student was suggesting that a particular pizza place that was located in a house would rent out the upstairs for storage. So, good idea, good recommendation. They would get revenue from renting out that storage space, but it's in a house. The bottom floor of it is a pizza delivery type of, just to come in and get the pizza, not a sit down restaurant. But how would you get things there and not disrupt the business going on in the pizza place? One suggestion was an elevator. Now, think about that logically. That's a very expensive suggestion. When would you, over time, in the revenue from the pizza parlor, be able to pay for in full that particular installation? So you want to think about, you've got this great idea. You've thought about something that's going to appeal to a particular business, but the research that you're going to do might take, for example, a particular app and look at how it's being used by a really big company. Who's got all kinds of monetary, employee, etc. resources. So once you reflect on the research that you're doing, how can you think about how this particular suggestion that you're making can be tailored to the business that you're suggesting adopts it? So I want you to be thinking about that because it's going to come in handy um, for your forum this week. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to read the 8 basic tips for an amazing white paper. And I think I opened that twice, but we'll open it again. What I want you to think about is, being descriptive, setting up a great intro, emphasizing that value that this suggestion is going to create for this particular business. Organize that draft. We're going to have time to get into 6, 7, and 8 because we're just this week looking at the intro, the discussion, and that conclusion that's going to be the recommendations. We've talked about your topic already. It seems like all of you have picked topics that an audience would be interested in. So these are going to be important considerations as you build basically the paper itself. We're going to go back next week and add that executive summary. You're right now in week 9 working on your references page and reading critically and analyzing those sources. So we're piecing this together. And then I want you to open up writing an analytical report. And I really, oh, it'll reload. There it goes. I really want you to just kind of pay attention to what you're doing. All of you took Writing 1060 or the equivalent, so you know how to write a research report. You're analyzing a particular company's problem or an institution of some sort, and you're making recommendations. So I want you to think about, moving through this particular handout. Think about, what needs to be determined. Why is this issue important? Make these clear in this draft, or I guess it's a draft of the draft. Who's involved? Where's the trouble located? When did it start? And how are you going to recommend something that will solve it? So when you're focusing on a recommendation, remember that you want to be direct, and that recommendation is going to be just that at this point, a recommendation, a suggestion, because you're going to build in the way to implement that recommendation once we move to the proposal. So, in that first part, in your introduction, you're going to establish that need for action. You're going to introduce the benefit that would be achieved, and then you're going to summarize those recommendations. And like I said, that summary is going to build in the next phase once we get done with the white paper, when we convert this paper to a proposal. You'll want to think about risks. You'll want to think about, reporting this truthfully, ethically, with that reflection component where you've thought about how this appeals to your particular suggested audience. And then I want you to think about that introduction, that it's going to help the reader understand the context, introduce the subject matter, preview the main idea, establish this professional tone that you want to adopt. The body is going to present, analyze, and interpret that issue, that problem in that particular company or institution. And then your conclusion is going to move on to that recommendation. And remember, these papers are not incredibly long. You're only looking at about a 4 to 5 page paper at this point. Like I said, that's going to expand a little bit in the next phase. But if you think of your intro as engaging the audience, outlining that particular company's issue, and then you're going to analyze that problem a little more deeply with the research that you've been collecting via the scholarly sources or some of the popular sources, and then you're going to move into your recommendations. And that conclusion at this point is going to kind of reinforce that this particular suggestion is going to be beneficial for your audience. All right, now let's go to the actual assignments themselves. If you look at our do section, you're going to be turning in just the intro, body, and conclusion by Sunday at 11:55 p.m. And then you're also going to participate in discussion forum number 9, where you will apply that reflective part. I want you to briefly state your white paper plan, include what surprised you about this particular solution that you're recommending, how you can cater it, and how you can reconcile any discrepancies. And then once you've posted your answers, these 4 bulleted points, then you can reply to one classmate. I want you to do just a brief amount of research on his or her topic. Provide one online resource, something like a link to an article or maybe a help document on how to use that particular app or something that they're suggesting, and then briefly explain how that link will help your classmates. So 2 posts, both are due by Sunday at 11:55 p.m. If you have any questions about the work for the week, just let me know. Have a great week.